for healing to take place, there may be some empty places in your heart that you did not even realize were there. So the teaching today, and this is essential for every issue in adulthood, is to look back at unmet emotional needs in childhood. Unmet emotional needs are really at the very root of almost every adult issue of addictions, an inability to maintain relationships, the performance-oriented, being always performance-driven, and then so shut down and disconnected if someone doesn't recognize your accomplishments. And even the parental inversion, where you're taking on a parental role in adult relationships, trying to tell everybody what to do and how to do, and parenting other adults. So we're going to go to the very root of these issues, and that is to look at the unmet emotional needs during childhood. And what I want you to do is to look in the booklet, or there on your screen if you're on the platform, and follow along and then stop when I tell you to stop and do the journaling exercise. It's very important. You've got to engage in this. Your spirit and soul has got to connect, and you've got to be able to feel it in order to face it, in order to deal with it, okay? This isn't something that you're going to be sitting listening to your phone, talking on your phone while you're listening to a video. No, focus. Focus, feel it, and face it. Okay, this is going to be based on a scripture that I've used many times. It's 1 Corinthians 13:11. And it says, when I was a child, I thought like a child. I thought a certain way. I felt, I reasoned things out. My feelings were based on my childhood, what's going on in your childhood affected how you thought and how you felt. But then the scripture says, but when I became a man or a woman, I put that away. Well, the problem is most people have not signed up for a putting it away class. They don't know that they're still operating with some mindsets and even some feelings that they had in childhood can surface in adulthood, and then what happens is we act out of that same emotional place that we were as a child when someone hurt us. Did you know that if you are easily offended in a certain place, it can help you know by what just happened, even where your emotional maturity is. If you slam the door and run and pout, that's like an 8-year-old, okay? If you pitch a fit, that's like a 8, 9, 10-year-old. So think about it that way. When you overreact in something, how do you overreact? I was a thrower. I'll just tell you. My husband and I got married, and we're in a fine dining restaurant. I'm all dressed up, had my hair fixed, and this was 44 years ago. We'd just gotten married. And my husband said one simple thing. He said, why don't we just get the steak and chicken platter, plate, and split it, and then both get a salad? And that was reasonable. But because it triggered my pain from when my dad left and we always had to split food, and my need for security through food, okay, had not been met, I was very insecure in that area. I always had to split food with my brothers because we didn't have proper nutritional meals. So when my husband said that, I threw the menu across the room in a fine dining restaurant. I overreacted. So you may remember something where you've overreacted. Maybe it wasn't that embarrassing. My husband was really embarrassed because he was proper and he's sitting there and like, oh, what just happened? Oh no, what just happened? Why'd she do that? And I couldn't even tell him why. I didn't know why. I didn't know why. But getting married, I needed to know I was going to be taken care of and secure. And when he said that I couldn't have my own food, which is not what he was saying, but that's how I interpreted it, through the pain of unmet need that I had, the pain of an unmet need. I needed security. And him telling me, let's just split the food and you can't have your own food, is what I'm hearing. So then I overreacted. All right, so when I was a child, though, I thought like a child, I felt like a child, and I acted like a child. But when you become a woman, in my case, I had to put that away by processing it, dealing with it, working through it, and getting to the root of why that upset me so bad. Okay, so if you're following along, this is the booklet, and it's Healing from Unmet Needs. All right, let's get started here. I'm going to read a few things out of the book, and you can follow along. When you live life out of unmet needs, you'll struggle with discouragement. You can easily get discouraged because your needs not being met, okay? And then you become disappointed, okay, in the person you're looking to in the present to meet that need. Well, it's not their responsibility. If it's a childhood need, it's not their responsibility. They're not your mama. They're not your daddy. You've got to heal from it to put it away. So it can really hinder your purpose, the appointed life that God has for each of us, and the purpose that we were created for. Hinges a lot on how we deal with our unmet needs so we can walk in maturity, embrace the call of God, and not let everything always trigger us and we're always cleaning up a mess that we made when we overreact. Okay, so now let's go on. Here we go. There's 10 emotional needs that are essential for your emotional health and well-being. When your emotional needs have been properly met during childhood, you enter into adulthood feeling secure and loved. Secure and loved. But unmet needs during childhood will create an emptiness in your soul, and I call that a restlessness. It's a place where you're restless. You're needing something more in that area, and so you become restless. Do you know that a new house is not going to fix the restlessness of your soul that's coming from an unmet need? A new house, a new job won't fix it. Even a new husband won't fix it, ladies, or a new wife won't fix it, men. You can get restless in your present situation and be so unaware that it's because it's an unmet need in your life that's not being met by that person. They have no idea what you're struggling with. They know when you overreact, but you're looking to them to provide maybe something that they're not even able to provide. The security. I needed my husband to provide for all the years that my father didn't provide for us. But that wasn't my husband's role that first year of our marriage. You know, we were doing good to live in an apartment at that point in time. And so I needed everything met. I didn't know it. I put so much pressure on him. Want a new house, want a new house. I want a new car. This isn't big enough. I was always restless and complaining over what we didn't have. Okay. But that's coming out of my own unmet need that I needed some things in order to feel secure because I did not have that growing up. Okay, so I want us to look just a little bit more. The first need that we're going to really go through, I know I've talked about security, but let's go into acceptance. Acceptance is a need that everyone has. Maybe you grew up feeling very secure, but you did not know if you were fully accepted because you were different and unique from your siblings. So you were always trying to measure up, be good enough, do more in maybe sports or academics, because mom or dad pointed to the older brother that you never measured up to. Well, he got all A's. Why are you getting B's? Okay, that can happen. So the need for acceptance starts when we're very young, and as a child we're looking to two people, mom and dad, to meet that need, to communicate to us daily that we're accepted by them, even in the areas where we're weaker than our siblings. Even sports is a big, big, big issue in families. One child may be very, very good in sports and athletic, but the other fumbles the ball, trips over his shoes and feet, and can't even do it. And so the one that's not as athletic is going to feel unaccepted if dad is applauding the firstborn son that's doing all of the touchdowns. So then the younger one grows up, feeling he's not good enough. Not good enough, okay? It's when we're children and these needs are right there and they're every day needing acceptance that the enemy fills us with lies if we're not hearing the truth from our parent. If parents are not affirming us daily and showing acceptance for what's unique and different, and saying, son, it's okay that you're not athletic. It's okay. And then affirming what is the strength in that child. But son, you're doing great in your music. You've got a tone, you feel it, you hear it, you're affirming and appreciating and showing acceptance for the strength in each child is what every child needed. Now, I want to ask you a question. Did you have acceptance? Did you feel accepted? Did you feel like you were significant in the family regardless of what you could accomplish? Or was it just who you were? That when you came to the dinner table, you were accepted at the dinner table, even if you had mud on your shoes, that you're still accepted at the dinner table, okay? Now, that may be a funny example, but a lot of children feel they have to be perfect. And you know what? Everyone that comes to our ministry that grew up having to be perfect, as an adult, they have so much anxiety, they don't know what to do because they're trying to be perfect in every way because they were required to come to the dinner table perfect, no mud on the shoes. They had to be perfect. And so trying to be perfect in order to gain acceptance creates anxiety, and it will continue on into adulthood and create many emotional problems. Okay, so let's look a little bit more here. All right. God created us, if you're following along, with physical, emotional, and spiritual needs. We have all three needs. And the thing that is so important to understand is the fact that your emotional needs were just as important as your physical needs. If there was food on the table, then that's good. Your physical needs were being met. The roof over your head, clothes, all those physical needs were important. But if you were never talked to, encouraged, held, embraced, affirmed, appreciated, if those emotional needs were not being met daily, then the emptiness is in your soul. It's not in your belly. You ate good food, but it's in your soul. Okay? It's in your soul. And you can grow up and accept the Lord and be spiritually connected. But when you're home, you can be in worship and then go home and go into the loneliness, okay? Because you're still needing someone right there in front of you to meet an emotional need. So the emptiness of the soul doesn't show up as much at church as it does at home. That's when it gets kind of triggered because you need somebody to meet that need. All right, so let's look here. Let's go on. And what I want you to do is to really look at this definition for emotional needs. And then I want you to look at the symptoms. Now, I'm going to have a few of these. As an adult, the symptoms here are being performance-oriented, because your acceptance is based on how good you can perform. So if as a child you started trying to get better grades, you started to try to get more touchdowns, you started trying to have more, more home runs, whatever area you kept trying to progress in just to be accepted, that can, as an adult, end up causing performance orientation, trying to earn acceptance. Then what that does is set you up to be a workaholic. You got to do more and more and more. Can't never rest. And then I want us to go to the insecurity it creates. Without the lack of acceptance, it creates a deep, deep vacuum in the soul. And it's what we call a narcissist. A narcissist. It's all about them. They've got to have something, got to have more, got to have more, got to have somebody to notice, somebody to appreciate, somebody to hear them, somebody. So it's the vacuum in the soul of insecurity that creates that. So do you need to go and get therapy for being a narcissist? No. Stay in healing. Healing of your heart is how God will heal and restore and set you free from any emotional issues that are rooted in these unmet needs. So the way we want to do it, though, is I want you to look at these other symptoms. I'll read just a couple more here, and then I want you to read them. Fearful of rejection, a poor self-image, believing you'll never be good enough, even fearful of making mistakes. And then one last one is the fear of eye contact. Because in childhood, the need for acceptance was to have eye contact with mom and dad, and it is literally medically proven. It activates the brain activity. When a child is looked at in their eye by mom and dad communicates, looks at them in the eye, it activates that child, and they connect. And their brain then receives this acceptance and affirmation of what the parent's saying. Okay, but if mom and dad's on their phone and they're over here scrolling, yeah, you're doing good, yeah, go ahead, yeah. No, that's not meeting the need for acceptance. Okay, so you've got to now, on a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to rate mom and dad, mom and dad, of how well this need for acceptance was met. And I want you to do it the first 12 years of life, okay? First 12 years. And so I want you to, I'm doing this on a timeline, and I want you to just those first 12 years recall things that help you recognize the need was met adequately. That would be a 9 or 10, or that need wasn't met because Dad was never home. Dad was working. He's never home. So I never knew if he really accepted me or not, because when he came home, he just goes to sleep, goes to bed. So that, I'm giving you these examples to help you connect with your own childhood. Rate from 1 to 10. And then I want you to take time to journal. We're going to give you about 5 minutes just to journal any thoughts that you have, and even any of the lies you believed. There's material in your workbook to guide you through this of the lies you believed when Dad would come home and sit in the recliner and go to sleep. And you'd say, Dad, needing to show him something you'd accomplished maybe at school. But Dad, no, I'm resting, I'm tired. Pushed you away. How did that feel? Maybe the lie was, I'm not good enough. I'm not important. The lie of I'm not important will keep you driving, pressing, pushing as an adult until you burn out. So I want to help you now get to the root of it. All right, let's take 5 minutes, work through it, maybe a little longer, and work through it. Acceptance. Okay. Okay, let's go to the next emotional need, and that is affection. Okay, affection. The need for affection is the need to be held, touched, and it's calming to the soul. It's calming. So the moment that a child is held by their mom and dad at birth, it's calming. A child can be born and screaming, and the minute that the doctors and nurses hand that child to their mom, immediately there's calming. Because affection is touch. It calms the soul. So now, I want you to think about your own childhood. Was mom available to give you affection, hug every morning, calming? Even if you were restless, not wanting to go to school, that she would come over and put her arm around you and comfort you and say, it's going to be okay. Today's going to be okay. And just that touch calmed you down, okay? So as an adult, the evidence that we have not had the adequate amount of affection can be that we're aloof and distant. We can't even receive affection. Pulling back. If somebody starts to hug, you pull back. You don't want a hug. You don't want the touch. You're aloof and distant, too busy. And it's because as a child, if a child is not given that affection that they need, they have to learn to self-soothe. Uh-oh. Get busy. Go get a toy. Do something to comfort themselves, soothe themselves, all of that. And that is even where sexual addictions began. Sexual addiction. The need for affection. And so, and I want to say this to married couples. The sexual act is not affection, okay? Affection is the touch on the hand or the hug or holding each other, walking together, holding hands. That's the need, how the need is met, the need for affection. And if the need for affection is met, then the sexual intimacy then can take place. But if a man has a need for affection and he's trying to get that need met through the sexual interaction, then it's self-serving, okay? He's trying to get it, he can't even be sensitive to his wife, okay? Same with a wife. So it really gets very confusing, and it creates sexual issues in marriage. Sexual issues. Okay, the need for affection is a root issue. And so, as we've ministered to couples over 25 years now, this has brought healing to so many marriages, because if the wife did not have the hug from dad daily that she needed, she may push her husband away if he's trying to hug her. She don't want to be close. She don't want it. Because and you would think she would need it. Yeah, she does need it. But she's mad because her daddy didn't give it to her. And now looks at the husband, what do you want? I know what you want. Yeah, that's how it works. I know what you want. Just get away from me. So this can be a major issue in marriage, okay? But let's say you're not married. Let's say you're just working through healing the heart, okay? Then I want you to look at these symptoms. You can be aloof and distant. You can have neediness, always needing somebody to touch you. You can even be cold and unfeeling and to the pain of others. They're hurting and you're not feeling a thing. And listen, you can even be flirtatious if you have this unmet need. You're needing touch. You're needing attention. This is what happens to teenage girls. That if dad has not had that time to give them a hug every morning or once a day, or just give that affection. The neediness, the emptiness is there. And they go to school and high school, and then what happens? The first young man that pays attention to them, then it draws them in, and they need affection. Okay. Out of their unmet need, they're needing it from this young man, but this young man doesn't know how to contain himself, okay? And so then all of a sudden, everything gets way too serious. So I want you to look at this now in your timeline, in your life, and I want you to look at it up until the time you left home. Not 12 years old, but till you left home. Was this need properly met by mom and dad? Read through the information and then rate mom and dad from 1 to 10 to help you recognize, has this been an unmet need in my life now that I'm an adult? And if you're noticing that it is, then I want you to identify the lies you believed and write those lies down. Because there's certain lies that are very significant, okay, that really go along with this unmet need for affection, and that is, nobody wants me. I don't fit, I don't belong, I don't belong. Because the affection is calming, but it's also drawing you into the family. Think about the moment of birth. That's how that infant is drawn into the family the moment mom holds her baby. Then that baby belongs. So the big lie with this unmet need is, I don't belong. I don't know where I belong. If you hadn't had enough affection as a child, then that need is dictating lies. I don't know where I belong. I don't know where I belong. But only the Lord can heal you and mature you and give you truth to dispel that lie. So work through it, rate mom and dad, and then write down the lies. Okay, let's take a break and journal. Write down. Okay, the next need that we're going to address now is the need for attention. A child needs to know their parents are interested and concerned about them. And you know how a parent shows their child that they're interested and concerned? Is to enter into their world with them. Not demanding the child come to work with the adult. No, the parent sits on the floor and plays with the dolls or the trucks or the blocks. And that is paying undivided attention. And you may say, well, that's not what happened when I grew up. You know, I can remember myself, I went to work with my mom, and I thought that was special because I'm getting to go and do big girl stuff with my mom. But the problem was, I didn't have her attention when I was at home. There wasn't any attention because she's busy. She was a single mom. She's busy, 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 busy. So as I got married and had children, guess what I did? Busy, 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 busy. That's all I knew. That was all I knew. And in my own healing journey, and I like to share my journey with you because I've had to heal so I could change my behavior so that my daughters and my son and my grandchildren could be healthy, emotionally healthy. And so I had to recognize that the busyness was in me was pointing to the fact that I did not have the proper amount of attention growing up. And so busyness, you know what that did? Then I could get my husband's attention. Oh, look what all you did. You cleaned the whole house today. I got his attention. But see, it was an unmet need. I'm doing it because of an unmet need. So I want you to look at some of the symptoms and see if you may be doing things out of a need for attention, and therefore you need to make some changes. Okay, here we go. As an adult, the evidence the need has not been properly met is neediness, boisterous, always being loud, boisterous, needing attention, poor self-image, feeling worthless, and even being promiscuous in those teenage years can show the need for attention. I'm needing attention. Will everybody look at me? Needing attention. So the need for attention is so significant in the times we're living in, because if you're living your life out of an unmet need, then you can't live your life out of purpose because you're so needy, needing someone to pay attention to you. All right, so let's rate Mom and Dad again. Now, we're not blaming Mom and Dad. They couldn't give you attention because probably they didn't have it either. But you don't have to continue living life out of this emptiness. You can heal from it. And so, but the emptiness has to be identified so that you can receive the living water, the love of God, His attention when you spend time with God, and you get filled in the empty places. Okay, rate Mom and Dad 1 to 10, and then in the section there, write out any lies, okay? Recognize the lies that you believe. Nobody cares about me. I'm not good enough. Let's see, the need for attention. I'm thinking, what would the lies be? Come up with your own lies. What's some of the lies you believed? I'm not important. Nobody cares. Write those lies out, because those lies have got to be released, renounced, and filled with truth of what God says about you. Okay, work on this unmet need. Let's start with the next need, which is encouragement. Okay? And all of these emotional needs are daily needs. Growing up, it's daily. I want you to look at this plant sitting beside me, okay? The interesting thing about this plant is it is a Christmas cactus. We are filming this in April, okay? So it's blooming, you'll see the bloom. It's blooming in a time that is out of season, but now it's blooming. And we've been watering this cactus the way it needs to be watered, and it blooms even during a time it's not supposed to bloom. Well, that's a prophetic declaration for somebody watching this film, okay? It's time for you to bloom, because in any of these unmet emotional needs, you can be all dried up, like a plant. If a plant is not watered, it just dries up, doesn't bloom. It doesn't thrive. It's not watered. And emotional needs is the water for our soul. When your emotional needs are met, it's like you're being poured into, like water to the soul. Every day you need water as a child and as an adult, but especially as a child, or you won't blossom when you get to your place of maturity, okay? Now, encouragement. Did you know that Scripture says that we're to encourage one another daily, and all the more as we see the day of the Lord approaching? Daily, we need encouragement. But did you know that if it's an unmet need, you won't even know how to receive encouragement? You can't receive it. Somebody can encourage you. Oh, I love the outfit you've got on. Oh, this old thing, I've had it for 3 years. And you just push it back. You can't receive it. Or, oh, I love what you wrote. Oh, yeah, well, I was just kind of down that day. So you come up with something. Instead of receiving encouragement, you push it back. That's a symptom. If you did not receive encouragement, then you haven't learned how to receive it. So you got to start today learning how to receive encouragement daily. Daily. It's a daily need, even as an adult. Now, here's a few symptoms. Are you easily discouraged? Do you have trouble with setting goals? Do you have a fear of failure? Are you unable to receive encouragement? And do you withdraw and just shut down when things aren't going like you thought they would go? You don't have a well in you that's full of encouragement to keep you going. You just shut down, get discouraged, and stop. That's a lack of encouragement from childhood. That's a symptom, okay? So I want you to work through this one, because the way a parent encourages their child is to help them set attainable goals and then encourage them every day towards the goal, but it needs to be attainable goals. So to heal from this unmet need, there needs to be some goals set. That you set, you share it with someone, and just say, kind of check in on me a little bit. Make sure I'm staying the course, because I easily shut down, and I'm trying to overcome discouragement. Okay, get busy. Do some journaling. Write out any lies you've believed, because maybe mom or dad were not encouragers. And so I want you to really work on that. And there's a difference even between mom's encouragement and dad's. Let me say this last thing. It's your dad's encouragement that awakens your spirit. It's what activates you. Okay? Mom's is the comforting encouragement. But dad's is the, okay, you can do this. You can do this. It activates you. So recognize who didn't meet the need, mom or dad. Work through releasing all those lies. And with all of these emotional needs, there needs to be forgiveness. And the prayer of forgiveness is so important, You need to really, every day, work through this prayer of forgiveness as you work to change all the things in your life that has been developed just to cope with unmet needs. Okay, take time now and work through it. The next need is the need for affirmation. Oh my goodness. This is a very important need, especially for men. Every man needed, every woman did, but every man needed his father's affirmation, okay? Jesus, when he was on the earth, God said, "This is my beloved Son in whom I'm well pleased." God the Father was affirming Jesus, the Son. And that was a model that was set. And so we need to look at that. If Jesus received affirmation, how much more do we need affirmation? We needed it every single day. You needed it, I needed it. And so any area in our life as an adult where we're fearful, where we're questioning ourselves and not moving forward in something you feel called to do, but you just don't know. Just can't press past some of the obstacles, the discouragement and different things. That can be because of the root issue of the lack of affirmation from your father. And it is a father's affirmation that awakens our spirit. It's our father, our earthly father's affirmation. Now, if he did not affirm you, the first step is to pray and forgive him, because he may not have known how to affirm if he was not affirmed. I know my father was never affirmed. Never affirmed. So he didn't have a clue how to affirm us as children. And so I had to learn, after my healing, learn how to affirm my own children. And I learned according to the uniqueness, the unique way each of my children were created. Train up a child in the way they should go, okay? Training and affirming go together. You're affirming what they're doing, what they're accomplishing, and who they are, affirming them daily in the way they should go according to their unique gifts. The uniqueness of each child needs to be affirmed. And so learning to affirm our children is something probably all of us could improve in. But what I want you to do is look at a few of these symptoms if you didn't have enough affirmation that you can work on. Here we go. You may feel insecure. Sometimes you might be performance-oriented, doing things just to get someone to affirm you. Then you become a workaholic, working because you're needing your boss's affirmation, not giving affirmation at home to your kids because you're working trying to get it at work. So if you see that you're kind of out of balance here, needing it and not giving it, that's a good indicator right there that you did not properly receive affirmation. Now, "This is my Son in whom I'm well pleased" is what Jesus heard. This is my beloved Son. Okay, so what I want you to do is spend time with God. Work through this. Rate your mom and your dad. 1 to, let's say, from birth to when you left home. Okay? How well were you affirmed? Were you affirmed for who you were? Were you affirmed for your strengths? Were you affirmed for just being a good kid? Were you affirmed for being a kind, being kind, being honorable, respectful? Were there ways you were affirmed? Now, rate mom and dad 1 to 10, and then record any lies you believed because you weren't being properly affirmed. Some of those lies could be, "I'm not good at anything. I don't know what I'm supposed to do." Feeling insecure about your profession. Any of these types of lies where you're doubting and questioning even your purpose, what God has for you. You can't hear His affirmation as long as there's unforgiveness towards your earthly father for his lack of affirmation. So work through the prayer, forgiving him, spend time with God so you can receive affirmation from your Father God. Okay, work through it. appreciation is a need that's very similar, but appreciation is needed just like affirmation, but it's being appreciated for specific acts of kindness, that someone appreciated that you made your bed, appreciated that how kind your voice was when you said thank you, or just appreciating those attributes that you had that were special. So appreciation, I know when my husband and I got married, he never felt like I appreciated anything. Uh-oh. And I could work really, 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 really hard to prepare a wonderful dinner. But because he had not been appreciated in childhood, he didn't view that as me showing appreciation to him. I'm doing something special for him to show him how much I appreciate him. But he had never learned to receive appreciation. So appreciation is a very, very unique unmet need, because you can't show appreciation or receive appreciation as an adult if you didn't have it as a child. So you have to work to develop and understand how to receive appreciation, how to receive a compliment, how to receive it, and know that that person's communicating appreciation for you. Now, if you're discouraged easily, if you spiral down into disappointment, you're pessimistic all the time, just thinking of the negative all the time, then that's a good indicator that you didn't have the proper amount of appreciation shown to you as you were growing up. And the spiraling down effect, okay, think about a spiral going all the way down. It starts with disappointment. Then it goes to discouragement, lack of courage. Then it goes to disconnecting, despair. You can spiral all the way down because you don't really know that you have worth and value and someone appreciates you. So I want you to work on this from that angle, is that you do have worth and value. You are appreciated. God created you in a unique way. He didn't create anyone else like He created you. You've been fearfully and wonderfully created, and He has a divine purpose for your life. So start there, receiving appreciation, that God appreciates the uniqueness of the way He created you, and He wants you to receive it. And stop working to try to just prove it to everyone else your worth, hoping to get a little appreciation from them. Start by receiving it from God. But rate Mom and Dad 1 to 10, and then it'll help you see if this is a root issue. If you've rated Mom as a 2 and Dad as a 4, then anything under 5 shows that's an area you're probably struggling in. Okay? So work on that. The lies you believe, write them down so that you can release them and receive truth from God on His appreciation for who you are. All right, we have security. I've already talked about security. The unmet need for security in my life was tremendous. And security means that every day there was a consistency. That creates security. There was consistent flow in the home. So you knew what to count on. You knew what was coming. You knew. You felt secure. But in my home, it wasn't that way. And until my dad left, he was changing jobs, we'd change houses, change schools. There was no security. Because security comes when things are calm and steady, and it's a continual flow. So I want you to rate your mom and your dad on security. And let's look at the symptoms here. There's just a few symptoms. You can feel fearful, worry a lot, and always needing to be in control. That was probably the biggest issue in my life, is because if you can control something, then you feel secure because you're going to make sure it gets done. Because growing up, if things were left undone and it was insecure, then you would step in and try to change it by controlling it so that you felt secure. So I want you to work on this, because this can create a lot of havoc in a marriage. If a wife is insecure, then the husband can work and work and work trying to provide financially, but she can't embrace and feel secure if she's not in control. So that's an area where there needs to be healing, so she can just sit back and appreciate what her husband is contributing and feel secure in the Lord, knowing He is. God shall supply all my needs according to His riches and glory. God supplies. And so healing gives you rest. You can rest once you've had healing in this area of security. All right, rate mom and dad. two more. The last one is respect, but I put that one last. The one I want to do right now is support. Oh, that's a big one. Growing up in a home, you needed to know you had support, that you could bring a problem home and your family would rally around you and support you and not point out everything you did wrong and support the bully at school or whoever bullied you. Let's read. It says, a child needs to know they have their parents' support no matter what. They need to know that their home is a safe place they can always go to for help and security. Okay, so safe place. Was your home a safe place? Did you feel you had the support of your family no matter what? They'd be with you, they would rally with you, and if the teacher was bullying you at school, did mom and dad hear you out and go and talk to the teacher? Or did mom and dad just scold you and send you to your room because you were the one that was wrong? Were you wrong in some way? Probably. But mom and dad needed to show you they loved you and supported you and that they would go to school to find the solution to the problem. But if you've never really felt supported, then you're always the victim. Always the victim. Even as an adult. You feel like everybody's against you. This is a huge one to get healed from. So I want you to write down, rate mom and dad from 1 to 10, but also write down anything that comes to your mind when you weren't supported. Okay? Was it a ball game? Was it school? What was it? What was a few of those incidences growing up when you didn't have your parents' support or didn't feel like you did, and you believed the lies? And now you're living life out of that lie. So I want you to work on this and pray through the prayer at the end to get free from this victim mentality that comes when we have an unmet need of support. Okay, work on it. All right. Now, the last one is respect. And the need for respect is an adult need. Yes, every adult needs to be respected. But do you know if you don't feel respected or can't receive respect, or you're demanding respect as an adult, it can indicate that you didn't have proper respect growing up. You needed to be respected for your privacy. And I've heard of people tell me that their parents took the door off the hinges and like, oh, there's no privacy. That was showing a disrespect for privacy. If you're not receiving respect at home, then you won't require respect as a teenager growing up. Okay? If you didn't observe dad respecting mom growing up, then you will not even have a measurement for what respect looks like. And you'll allow people to disrespect you. In other words, you don't even know what respect looks like. And respect has to be established at the beginning of a relationship. Okay? And so if you enter into a relationship and you don't voice your own convictions, then that person doesn't know how to show respect to you. So it's important that you understand respect and then how to present that as an adult, adult to adult. If you're going to the mall with a friend and they start lighting up a cigarette and you don't smoke and it affects you, then it's not disrespectful if you were to say, I'm sorry, but I can't take, cigarette smoke in a small area like this. Would you mind waiting until we get to the mall? So you have to learn a language, though, in order to express things to people that can help them know how to respect you and your boundaries, setting boundaries. So if you have problems setting boundaries, saying no to things, saying no when you're dating, saying no to things, then that's a good indicator that you've not been shown respect as a child and you don't know how to even present to someone how you would like for them to respect you. So work on this, because this can affect all relationships. It can affect the marriage. It can cause lots of arguments because you feel like you never listen to me. You're not respecting what I say. And yet it's an unhealed area and it needs to be healed so that the boundaries of what make you know you're respected can be set. So work on this. This is the last of the 10 unmet emotional needs. Work on this one the same way. Rate mom and dad. And the lies that you believe. And write out the incident when you weren't respected. And that'll help you know what triggers you today. You'll be able to connect it on the timeline. You get triggered when your wife questions your decisions because when you were 10, mom said something, showed disrespect, did not ask you before she did something, took away all of your Power Rangers or whatever, didn't show any respect. And now, if your wife moves something on the table, it just blows you up because you don't feel like she's respecting your privacy and your things. So it can be that simple, but that can cause a blow up in a marriage. All right, let's work on it. Pray through the prayer. And then at the end, I want you to write a letter after all these have been finished. Every emotional need where it was 5 and under, write a letter to the person that did not meet the need. Now, this isn't a letter that you're going to mail or give it to them. This is a letter to cleanse out your soul. It's a letter. Write it, handwrite it, to release all of the feelings and the lies that you believed. God bless you.